Hey, Fitzy here, back at it again with another one. Look who it is. It's Crusty. We got to do some more metal work on this. We got to do some cutting, some grinding, and some more welding. Seems like Crusty, doesn't it? Stick around. Well, the last time we worked on Crusty, I remade this door, rebuilt it, a whole bunch of pieces. I've done videos on this here. The entire bottom of this door was gone. The holes in the middle of the door, all was rotted up here, all was rotted out here. Welded up a bunch of stuff on that. We got all that done. Now, what's left on this car in the way of metal work is this back here, okay? I got to do wheel tubs and the back floor, all that type of stuff. But I was held up on the wheel tubs. I have them made, they're right here. The inners and outers and all that's there ready to go in the car, but I stopped to think about the clearances I got on the tires right here, okay? I never had these tires on this car. I bought these last year, whatever, and I mounted them on the car, and I'm iffy if I got to cut the wheel wells or not on this car again, because the problem I'm having here now is the tire seems very close here in the front, okay? But in this car now, there's what is in it is a leaf spring out of a Jeep, like a YJ or something like that. And it just got old bushings in either end of it. I custom built it so it could take like sliders and up front. I don't know if you can see it there. Looking down through, you can see the way the front spring goes into the front of it right there. That's all set up to take a caltracs system. These springs are not the best. One's odd than the other, and my plan was to go get a set of springs made. So that's what I went and did. What I got here, this here is the makings of a custom-made spring that I had made locally at Hiscock Springs, one of our local shops here. They do a lot of springs and replacement, and you know, they build the stuff. And I went in and I asked them, can you build me a custom spring? Yeah, no problem. What this is, this spring here is the length of a Jeep YJ, because it's a short spring. The center bolt is the same as a Jeep YJ. Now, back here, this here end eye is Mopar, Dodge, early Dodge, because it's a small bushing, okay? This end here is Chevy Nova up front for the large bushing, okay? And the reason why I had it done this way, because as you can see, I have an aluminum bushing here, and I have aluminum bushings here. I bought a set of slider kits that came with these bushings, so I had the spring made to fit them. And the Calvert springs that I got for the back, for the front, sorry, needed this bushing here installed, so I needed an eye for that there. So they made me a custom spring, and they bolted the same as the way the Jeep one was. What I intend to do, because this is the spring is going in it, I'm going to put it together and put this spring in it. That way I can find out exactly where the rear end sits. So then I got to cut the quarter pounds, I can cut the quarter pounds. Spring pack that I got here, this is stuff that came out of Wendy's Mustang. I've hung on to it because it was all good in the car and it had a bit of a bow in it, and I would like to have this a little bit high. I want lots of adjustability in the suspension. This I'm not going to get into detail because right now all I'm doing is getting the springs put together, putting them in the car, and getting the rear end remounted so I can actually size up the quarter panel. I'll cover all this stuff later on. Okay, so what my intentions are now is I got to get over here and I got to take this down off the blocks. Haul the rear end and everything out of it, get the old springs that are out of it, and then I can come over here and I can install these ones here and get these put in place so that I can actually make sure that everything is sitting where I want it to sit. So I'm just going to go ahead, get most of this done, get this spring pack put together. I got to clean these up a bit and get them bolted together with a couple of center bolts and whatnot so they're ready to go in the car, and then we can start on cutting up quarter panels. So I got two of them put together, and they're ready to go. I'm not 100% sure this is the way the pack will be when it's done. I got 3 put in it for now. I may only need 2. I don't know. I made it a different height. What I wanted to have is I wanted to have adjustment on it, so I wanted to rig it up. So I'm going to rig it up the way it is here now and see where I'm to. The biggest thing with this is that I don't want no movement up here, and that's the problem I got right now in the car. This moves around a lot. So now when I put the sleeve and everything, the bolts in here, that's permanently going to be where it's at. So then I can adjust everything according to that. So. Some might be wondering what size they are. 275 60 R15s. So they're like a 28-inch tall tire. That's what I was going with. So I got it all jacked up now and stands and everything on it. I'm just going to go ahead now and I'm going to do one side at a time, get the leaf out of it, and get all the gear put back in it, and bolt it back up again and do the other side. So I got it all back together again. Got the new springs in it. So what I'm going to do here now, I'm just going to take the wheels, throw the wheels back on it, and jack it up and just see where it sits. Here's where I'm to with this now. I've have to turn around and bolt the wheels back on the car. I know for a fact that the center bolt is ahead too far. Now the reason why I figured that is when the springs that were in this used to sag a lot, the old Jeep springs, and when they sag, your distance from your center bolt eye to the watch cock gets longer, so the rear end used to line up right. I expected this. Now I have a nice bow in the spring. The distance from here is moved together closer because of the bow, okay? What's going on there now is I'm going to need to move the center bolt, or the center bolt in the rear end. I'm going to step it ahead 1 inch. So in other words, I'm going to re-drill the plate on the rear end ahead 1 inch so that the rear end moves back 1 inch. I went and re-drilled the spring purchase on the rear end 1 inch forward so that now the rear end moves back 1 inch. And then I bolted everything in and got everything mounted in the car. And I got the rear end mounted. Now this is only hung here now, okay? And you can see the distance I got on the front here now. Now I'm going to show you something now when you jack it up. Never noticed it about leaf springs before, but this rear end moves back when you jack it up. What I think is going on here is when the spring is at full droop going this way here, the distance from here to here is shorter, okay? When you jack it up and you flatten the spring out, this point here is not going to move. So you're flattening the spring out, so you're moving the center bolt backwards, okay? So this is what happens here. Now, you can see the distance I had there was nice, and now it's wide there now. This is roughly where I want to have it at ride height, okay? Roughly where I want it. Could be a small bit lower than this again. Here's the dilemma I'm up against. The tire is actually touching back here. This is what I'm talking about. I had to do all this before I could actually finish anything because I wanted to figure out what was going on with the rear end and everything. I like this up here the way this is now because when you got slicks on a car and you're launching the car and whatnot, what's going to end up happening, this is going to be the area right here where your tires are going to rub, okay, this area here. You want as much room here as you want. Now, when this car here launches, it's going to grow, okay? So, in other words, the rear end is going to be down out of the wheel well. The body's going to be lifted up. This distance here is going to get smaller. That's the way the car will be when you launch the car. It'll lift the body up, and this is what it'll do. So it's tighter up here. There's still lots of room here for the tire to grow forward, which I'm happy with. I got a pretty well 1 inch there now with the growth of the tire. So I should be fine there. The problem I'm running into is back there. You can see is actually touching back there now, so the wheel well is not big enough. If you have been following me from the beginning on this car, I have already opened up the actual quarter panel on this car 2 inches right here in the middle here. I've been sizing up a couple of different things I can do. I can cut the end off it here. I can just take a section out of the back of it. I'm not liking that because I find that this section of the wheel well here looks odd with the tire compared to this side here, and I don't like that. I'm going to go right back over it all again. I'm going to recut these quarter panels right back where I cut them to before, and I'm going to move them back another inch. Is what I'm going to do. So there'll be 3 inches here in the middle. I might make this whole piece again. I got to do the exact same thing again. So I'm going, instead of like just adding on to what's there, I'm going to cut out what is there. And then I'm going to make a new piece, 3 inches. That's longer than that I can put in there, that I can move the wheel well back. I'll do the same process of what I've done over here. and move all that back. I think it'll look a lot nicer if this here flowed over here a bit more and come down and followed this way here. I've been playing around with just chopping it off, doing all kinds of stuff with it, and I don't like the way the tire looks. It looks like it's back too far in the car now, see? But I want this room in the front here. That's what I want. I want to have that room there for tire clearances, for when it launches, and also for tire growth, right? So I'm gonna get these wheels off now and start cutting up a quarter panel. Here you can see the whole setup now. You see the holes that I'm up third hole up in this mount here. We got it done. And there's the rear end with the perches on it, and the lower caltracs bracket on the bottom. The U-bolts are temporary. I just had them putting them in and out because I might change that setup. I was going to have a nut and bolt system and change it. Not quite sure yet, but there's just a set of U-bolts head kicking around, so I just used them, and I had to put sleeves in them because I've run out of threads. So I got to either replace them or make a different setup, but that's fine. In the back here, you got sliders, right? The light is there. Slider over there. There you go. Got them set up there now, so I'm happy where everything is too. This is the home of the rear end where it's going to go, so let's start chopping up this quarter panel. You can see here where it was cut to here before and welded up along there, and it goes crossing down there. I'm just going to come on the inside here now where I can see it and take the grinder now and just cut through that and cut up along there and mark it so I can get a better cut on the outside and just remove that whole section right out of there again. There you have it, that's chopped out. Now before I done a pile of measurements before, when I done measurements, made a right angle, all that type of stuff, but I already have it here and I want to go according to this here. And as you can see what I did, I cut on the edge of where I had the piece welded in it. What I'm going to do here now is I'm going to trim off the welding on this here now. So I don't want to have like a bunch of welded seams on the inside of the quarter panel. So I'm going to trim this off up here. This one up here, I'm going to have to leave there because I'm not raising up the quarter panel any. I got to leave that there so I'll clean that up. And I'm debating whether I'm going to bother to take that off. I might just turn around and add another inch to it, that's all. Might be the best thing to do because that's a good repair there. Like even when you get it in the light and everything there now, that looks good, look. Get the light on it, see? That looks good there. I'm going to put on there. It's a nice repair there. All the way down around there. So I might just leave that alone and add an inch to it. I was going to cut it off, but I said, no, maybe I won't, right? But I'll get this cleaned up now, and we'll start test fitting it again. Now I'm just temporarily tacking this in place to see, this is an inch here now that I got added to it, to have a look, see what it looks like. Now down here on the bottom, you see the way I made the cut here? Now you would think that I would have went down the whole length of the quarter panel, cut up, moved back, but this quarter panel goes up on an angle, and it's hard to actually, you can see it there. So all I does here is I'll just cut that off and cap the end of it, because if you cut this off and moves it back, you got to move the bottom of the lip up, all that type of stuff. And you're just getting to it. This here is going to flow back, it's going to go up higher. So I'm just going to mark this down through here now and just chop it off. works a lot better. I got the weight put back on the axle again, so that'll be like where it'll be at a ride height. You can see there's some major changes, like she had to move back to here. There's a nice gap here. I'm pleased with that. Now, there's lots of room around that there. When I first caught these quarter pounds, I was iffy about it, and I was questioning myself on it. And the whole time I had this car, I was thinking about these quarter pounds, thinking that I think I should open them up a bit more, because I opened them up 2 inches up here, and I should open them up 3, right? So I got that all figured out now. Now it's time to just pop this piece off, add an inch to it, get that piece all made up, and then we can get that welded back in the car again, get this side finished, and we get done the other side. Now, all I'm doing here is I'm lining this up here, okay? And I put a mark down through here, and I measured from the end of it over, and I come over around 3 inches. Then I measured over to where this little gap I got here, and it works out to be 4 1/16, this whole gap here, right? So when I put the piece on the end of it, I can measure from here over the end and cut it off 4 1/16, and that'll give me a spot that'll go in there. I also scribed it down through here and through here, so that when I let this go, then I can actually put it back in the same location. So I'm pretty sure it's in the right spot because it's lining up all these places here looking good. So, all right, I'm going to take this off now and go over and start bending up a little piece of metal for that. I cut the piece of metal out. I cut it 2 wide, just the right length, and I put it up next to it. And I want to have a bit excess left on the end of it, so I'm going to trim it off after, but it's not long enough on top. Go find another piece. So as you can see, not much to it. All I did is I bent up a piece of metal in the vise. You seen the first piece I bent up, I never had it long enough. I wanted to have excess up here, and I wanted to have excess down here as well. And all I did is I bent it up, come back, did one bend, test fit it, another bend, test fit it, another bend, test fit it, until I was happy with it. I cut a little bit off when I trimmed it off up here, because I trimmed this off because I didn't like the way that it was down here, it was welded. I cut all the welding off it. I didn't want to have nothing to do with that, so I had nice fresh metal here to weld to. So now that's all ready to go in there now. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead, weld all this up, grind all this smooth, but I'm not going to touch this mark here. I'm not going to grind back to that. That's my measurement. I'm going to measure from here up to here and cut it off. So I went ahead, trimmed the top off, trimmed the bottom off. Then I measured over from my line. I come over here and I come over 4 1/8. This is 4 1/16, but 1/8. I'm going to leave a little bit of material here so I can actually trim it to fit. So I'm going to chop it off there and it'll be closer as to. And I went and grind off all the edges. I cut off the welding on the bottom here. So I'm ready now to go over and do a test fit on this. See how it is after it gets that cut off. So I got a test fit laid in place. I got it all trimmed up here where I'm happy with it. I got to shape that as I'm going there now because I got to be bent back. It's stuck off a small bit, but I'm just going to concentrate on this outer edge here and work my way up. Over here now is just an overlap weld. You see me scribing this down here. I want to cut away this section right here. Just a little section from here to here so I can actually get this here to line up with the belt line nice and have it flush in. And then I can do the cut and butt down through there, cut and butt up through there. And then this here is going to have to be filled because there's a bit of a gap and everything there. When it's all pushed in place, I noticed that it's a little bit off, but we'll use a little technique to fix that. So I'm going to go ahead now, get this trimmed off, and get this ready to install. This is where you spend most of your time, getting everything fitting, getting exactly where you want it. It can be a bit of a tangle at times. Here's that piece of metal I ruined earlier, come in handy. Got that lined up there now, not worried about this up here. I want to get this straight. Right here, get it good there. And over here, I trimmed it off. You can see in through there. I trimmed off just from here to here. So now I can line this up here and get that welded down through here. This point here and this point here are the crucial spots that I'm trying to get lined up. Once I get them lined up and welded up, then the rest of it all can work, right? You can see the big gap that's going to be right here, and I push it on that. Sphere size gap, got to be welded up in there. We'll get to that. So right now, I'm going to turn around, get the welder, and get these welded up, and get that welded up down there so that there's installed. I'll probably put a few tacks on it here and there, so I can start doing the cut and butt on the rest of it. So I went ahead and I got this all welded up here, and then I got up here and I was like blowing holes. I forgot all about this lovely car. Something else to try to weld this is. And I got a tack welded in down there, and I got it welded down there, and I'm still not happy with that down there, but that's it. So what I'm going to do is I'm sizing things up here. I'm going to start from here. I'm going to grind and dress and finish this off here now. I'm going to leave this alone here because I may have to pull it out after. So I'll weld this up after the fact. But I'll get this here looking good and this section up here looking good. And start working my way back through the panel. Go ahead now and get this grinded up and see what it looks like. And we'll go from there. So here's where I left off. Been away from it for a few days. Truck problems. Had some issues with my pickup truck, and as you can tell now, I got everything moved around here. I got the ramp opened up again there now. I had to take the car off the ramp because I needed this bay to get my truck in there. I had some electrical issues. I had to hunt them down. It's been raining now forever. I got it all straightened away. Back to this. I got this moved over here now. I managed to get this spot right here all cut and butt up through here, and then I started to tack weld it along here, and I started to do the cut and butt down through here, and then I stopped. All I got left to do here now is got to finish cutting and butt down through here, get this here all fit in place, get the tack weld in place, and then come up here and start welding it all up. You can see there's a large gap there, okay? I'm going to look after that now in a second, but first thing I'm going to do is get this here all cut and butt. So I went ahead, done the cutting butt down through here, got it all welded. Stuff is thin, so hard to weld. Had to dolly it some in here, and down here it's really thin. But you saw me there, you can see me cutting on the inside, removing the piece on the inside. What I'm going to do here now, before I go welding this all up, I'm going to grind this down smooth so I can really see how straight this all is, and I'll dolly it up along there so I'm happy with the gaps and everything, or the actually way it's shaped, to make sure that everything is flushed here and flushed here. So I'm just going to grind the heads off of these here, flush everything out, then I can start welding everything up. Now that I got it all grinded off, I can actually feel the spots, everything's there, and then I can dolly this stuff up now. You can see there's a bit of a drop in it right here, going along there. So where I can get at the back side of this now, I'll dolly all this up, get it where I'm happy, so I can go back and start welding it all then. So let's get this dollied up now so that there is nice and straight. Now I'm starting to weld this up here, and you can see I'm having troubles. It's thin, I'm blowing through it. What I'm going to start doing here now is I have a chunk of brass. It's been in my toolbox for years. As a piece of this now, what I'll do is I'll go in behind here, and I'll put that behind it on the back side, lay it against it, and that way I can turn around and start welding it and give it something to weld to that it won't stick to, and the MIG weld won't stick to brass. Some fellas use copper. I just like this as a large chunk. It's harder to melt this. I've seen people using like copper pipe and flattening it out, but it tends to melt it with the heat. So anyway, I'm going to get back to welding that up and use the backing for there and get that welded up. I've talked about it before in this video. I'm welding this up with 030 wire, and I can tell you what a mess that is. What a mess. It's just way too much of a build up, and it's taking me longer to grind stuff down. And when it takes you longer to grind something, you're going to be putting more heat in it, okay? But I'm making do with it here now. I got to run to town to pick up a roll of 023 wire. And I just not bothering with it. I'll make do with what I got here. It's just that I got a lot more grinding to do. Look at the bubble gum. Look, oh my God. But I got that welded up there now. I'm not going to get too far into this because this here is going to be another mess up here. So I'm going to go ahead and get this all grinded up and finished and touched up and do all that type of stuff. So this is finished. Sometimes in a case like this here, it's better to take it in small sections and do it if it's not going smoothly, and this is not going smoothly, right? Because of the car itself, the type of metal it is. So I'm going to go ahead now, get this all grind up. Now, isn't that gorgeous? Look at that. Certified welding there, look. Roll of dimes. Yeah, whatever. More like a roll of marbles. But when it comes to body work, that's it, okay? The 030 wire is not helping any, because that is like major high, right? But I got it all welded up. I used the brassing on the back side of here to keep it from actually blowing through, and gave it some backing, made it a lot easier to weld, right? So I'm going to go ahead now and spend 10 hours to grind all that off, because it's crazy, crazy high. That's it. That's all I can do. Get that grind up. A few of them had passed for curb feelers. Oh my God, Tony. What are you at it all? Bubblegum be gone. All best kind there now. Had to go back and touch up a few spots again. This stuff is something. I'm telling you, it's something. Well, I got it all done. After going over this a few times now, dollying it, trying to get it all right nice, straightening up metal. You can see this is opened up here. I'm just trying to finish this off now. So, because when I put the wheel tubs in this here, you're not going to be able to get at on this anymore. Where I've after cutting this off and re-welding it again, I've run into a lot of troubles with the very, very thin metal. This stuff is a nightmare to weld, but what I'm into here is crazy. It just seems like that everything I touches, if I just dabs with the welder, it falls through it, okay? But I got it all straightened away. I got it all welded up there. It's solid again. All I got left to do down here now is I got to cap this end here, and I got a little spot here that I got to weld. I got to make sure this is straight here. So I'm going to go ahead now and get a piece dug out, get fit in there, and get it welded in. Now, you can see here, this is where my piece ended. Came up here and I welded that on across there. What I'm going to do, I'm going to come up here and cut off a section here and come down here. I don't want my piece that I put in here to end right here where this is here has been welded. I want to come up into this here so I can stagger all my welds. So because this is a cornered piece, I don't want to have a cornered piece going right around here where two metals join here and join here. I want to stagger it up so that the piece comes across, comes over, and comes up much like that, just to give it some strength within itself. Because if there's no welding here, it gives this strength, and if there's no welding here, it gives this strength, okay? So I'll get this trimmed up and get a piece and get it welded in there. So here's what I'm up against, okay? I'm here now and I got this all welded in and grinded in. And I'm here now and there was a few pinholes here that I can see light through because I got the light in behind it there. So I can shine the light out to see what's going on. And if you look at it, I started to weld it up and it just went into a large hole. And I just chased it up here, then I chased it up here. I've after doing this now a number of times on this quarter panel. It is very, very frustrating, okay? Your first initial thought is, okay, you're in weak metal, cut a piece out, weld it in. But what you're going to end up with then, you're going to have a square patch that's going to be all buggered up on the edges because you're going to be chasing it out across the car. This metal is unreal. It can be worked once, welded once. But if you got to rework it again and weld it again, oh, I'm telling you, I'm here now, frustrated. I've been at it, trying to get this all clued up, trying to get things done. I didn't like the way this was down here, and I start cleaning it up a bit, and then I start tack welding it again, and you see a pinhole, next thing you just start blowing holes in it. A lot of it is grinding it too, right? Because I'm grinding it and making it thin, and that don't help. But I'm trying to get a nice finish on it. I'm not worried about none of this now up here. I've gotten to the point with this car now that I got to be concerned with getting it good enough for filler because it's very, very frustrating, okay? I'm going to go ahead now, grind this off, and then we can trim this up in here. All I got left to do now is trim this up, and this side's finished. Well, it's now the next day. I got that all trimmed off. And when I finished this yesterday, I turned around and I said, no, there's no good in me. It's basically more of the same. I'll go and talking about, but I got to get it done. So I went ahead and I done the other side, okay? Last night I came out here and I turned around and I cut it all up, made the piece to go in here, welded it back in, cut it into place, fit it, all that done. I'm going to say an hour I had it cut, lengthened, moved back, cut, and ready for welding, okay? I was at it about 2 hours last night, and I come out here this morning, and it's now 11:30, so you're talking about 9, 10, 11:30, 2.5 hours. I'm about 5 hours welding on this, and grinding, welding and grinding. I can tell you, I got myself into a nightmare. I can honestly tell you, the Air Captain MiG 200 was a godsend because I could turn it right down, and I couldn't do that with the other welder. I turned this welder right down and just tried to get little spots welded. Everything I went at, it reminded me of like years ago when welding rusty metal and stuff like that. You'd end up just cutting a piece out and welding a piece in there, right? But this whole section right here was just one big nightmare. No matter what I did, I start welding it, I turn around then and I just start burning holes, chasing it across the panel. At one point, I had a full inch round of welding in there. Now, you say cut it out, welding a new piece, but what's going to happen is everything around that is going to be all buggered up, maybe inches welds around that. It was just like something I had to put up with it, and that was it. And then by putting a pile of heat into this here, because last going off, like even up in here and down here, I was chasing the welds, and you just got into it. You just kept chasing the weld, You weren't paying much attention to anything else other than chasing the weld. I had to stop because I actually put too much heat in it. I ended up warping all this up down here. So then I had to turn around and split it all open again to try to get it all straightened up because, you know, I just have to put that much heat into it. Then I re-welded it again, and then blew holes in it, and da-da-da, and so on, so forth. I can tell you it was frustrating. If a lot of you don't know, the panels on this car were extremely rusty, and I grind off all the rust and everything off the cars, treated them, and then put an epoxy primer on them. So the panels on this car are probably 24 gauge metal originally. You grind them off and that type of stuff, then you turn around and you're making it even less, like 26 gauge metal. So then you cut the quarter panel on the car and you weld the quarter panel on. Then you cut the quarter panel again and move it back. So now you're getting into more metal that's been grinded and so on and so forth. And it just turns into one nightmare after another. I've been at this now, these 2 quarter panels, probably 4 days. And normally a set of quarter panels doing this type of work with it, I could probably do in an afternoon, and that's the truth. If everything was going according to the way it should be. All the work into this here was just trying to fill up small pinholes. And then when you strike the pinhole, you just blow a hole in the panel. And I'm telling you, it was something else. I had to get it done. I didn't want to take you along on this here because it was just a nightmare, okay? I even got the piece welded in down here, the lip all on that there. I got it welded up underneath there and put the piece in across there. Up along here, then it was extremely thin. I kept blowing holes in it all up there. But down here was just a nightmare. I ended up like just welding. I'll show you on the back side. Right, nothing to hide. You see all the welding right here, look. Let me zoom in there. You can see all the welding right here, look. My fingertip. All that there is welding. Okay, and I had to cut it across here, cut it down through here again. Well, down here is all welding. Like, it's just like, wow, like it's just so much. Trying to get it all welded up and trying to get strength into it all, okay? Up across the back side there, you can see up there, I had troubles up there as well, okay? Over on this side, it's much the same thing. Down here, you can see the welds, right? So, and up along the top. But I got it all welded in. And it's done. Right? Now what I'm going to do with all this here now, I'm going to paint all this again. I'm just going to get a paintbrush and paint it all. Because what I'm going to do with that now, before I put the wheel tubs in it, I'm going to seam seal it all up. Just in case there is any more small pinholes from whatnot. You'll actually, the seam sealer will seal it off. Right? This is not your typical car. Not your typical restoration. This is a car that's more of a challenge for me to try to build something out of. It was hard to start with, and if any of you have been following me on this build, there was extremely a lot of rust on this car. But, and it wasn't the rust was the issue. I managed to get the rust repair. It's just the re-welding stuff that I'm trying to having troubles with. So, but I got it, finally. I'm going to throw the wheels on these now, just so we can have a look at it and show you guys what it looks like with the new quarter panels all widened out. I'm glad I done it. When I first cut the quarters on this and moved them back, I questioned myself because I had a set of slicks that were wore out, and that takes roughly a ½ inch, you know, 1/4 inch off a tire. And then when I measured it up for that, then when I got new tires, I put them on, and I was like, I don't know. And then when I put the suspension in it, it was the suspension I noticed moved forward, so I needed more room in the front, so I had to move the rear end back. So I actually let the wheelbase on this car now another inch, so the wheel has moved back another inch. So I think it was 96 and it's 97 now, the wheelbase. So, but anyway, let me get the wheels put on this and we'll have a look at it. And there it is with the tire on it. You see how much room I got up front here now compared to back. Now when you jack it up, this here closes up to about 1 inch. So I can't have it too wide here, and I prefer to have it more than less, okay? I did notice back here that I don't have the arc right nice here. So I got to rework the quarter panel there again. Oh my, but that's it. That's all I'm doing with it today. This is the other side. I've also noticed my springs are in the car. One is a ½ inch lower than the other. And I think that's the helpers I got in it. So I got to adjust the spring heights, but I don't mind that so much. Same thing over here. I got more room on the front than I do on the back, which is good. This arch looks nice over here. I like the way the tire sits in that there. That's what I was after. Okay. I was concerned with that right from the beginning when I did originally cut the quarter panels on the car. And everything else went on hold because if you notice back here, I still haven't got none of this done, okay? I got all the wheel tubs made. Now these are going to have to be changed. I've already sized them up. I have roughly 2 inches, 1 3/4 on the ends here. I'm going to have to cut 1 inch off of this here, and then this is going to have to taper up, and I'm going to have to make a new lip for it. So, but that's what I had to find out because I couldn't put these in. I didn't want to put these in, then have to chop all this up and then try to bugger it all up to try to make it work right. I wanted to put it in, like finished, that I was spot welded and I didn't have to worry about all the welding on the inside edge of it, right? So, there you have it, another project done on Crusty. It had to be done. I want to move forward this. My plans for this, I want to get all the metal work finished on the main shell of the car, and I would like to get the main shell body worked and painted. That is my goal, okay, for this winter for sure. I would like to start putting this car together, but I don't want to do it till it's fully painted. So my plan is to do all the body work on the 2/4 panels in the roof and the tail panel, just section here, and then paint it all white because that's the color the car is going. And then the main shell will be finished, and I'll just turn around, I'll blacken out all the interior in the car and repaint everything that got to be repainted again underneath it, seal it all up, do all that type of stuff that got to be done to it. So the main shell is finished. That's my goal for this winter with this car. Whether I reaches it, I don't know, okay? But I'm pushing forward. Next thing we got to tackle on this now is going to be the 2 wheel tubs, get them installed and welded in. So that'll be the next installment on this car. Anyway, it was a long one. Took me a while to get this one out to you guys. But it is what it is. I get into something, I got to stay at it. Anyway, I'll leave this one here. I hope the tips were good. And until next time.